Okay, this is Andy Graham of the Ask Andy Show. I've been to 90 countries and traveled nonstop for 16 plus years. I answer questions about a live abroad lifestyle, basically a little bit of anything, everything and everything, anything and everything. Okay, let's see. Joshua W. asked a question. Hello Andy, I sent you another question, but I noticed you had already answered my question in a previous video, so I decided to send you another one. These guys get on streaks, they start you get them going and they start thinking, and they realize that I actually answered the questions. Generally speaking, do you think American society is a virtuous society? More specifically, do you think modern Americans are a virtuous people? In what term would you describe the American life as a good life? In what terms would you describe the American life as a good life, a life worth living? You know, the greatest thing about American people is they have this obsessive nature to do the right thing, to be the best they can. If you see Americans, they're always whinging about some corruption or somebody doing something bad or whatever. We're always wanting people to improve, and so it's almost obsessive in our countries, which is a good thing. So the virtuous part, though, are we virtuous? I think for the most part, your average mom and pop that goes home and, you know, works all day, has 2 kids, and, you know, basically is a very good person. They basically are not trying to cause harm to their neighbors. Do they cheat on their taxes? Yeah. Do they lie once in a while to their wife or their, you know, their things about to help their advantage? Yes. But generally, overall, the Americans are a quite polite culture. You can do a test of this too if you travel abroad. If you hear somebody say, "Excuse me, please, thank you," all the manner things like thank you, hello, you know, basically all the polite things, ask them where they're from. If you hear a thank you or an excuse me, you got about an 85% chance it's an American. A lot of cultures just refuse to, you just like get out of the way. Okay, it's kind of like more like New York City mentality. Okay, but the way I understand it, most cultures, well, most of the low cultures, the poor cultures, just really never had manners, but the upper cultures like Europe and Australia and some like in Europe, most people live in the cities, so they're always congested. Well, really, 75% of Americans live out in the country. We're a people from the country, from the rural, and the rural people are not, they just basically feel a need to talk to people. The city people, you know, are trying to avoid any kind of confrontation. They basically are so overwhelmed sometimes that they'll do anything to shut off the world. But Europe's like completely urban, while Americans more like rural. And so it makes for a much more easy. Plus, we're lucky because we have a lot of food. And because we have a lot of food, life is good. At the end of the day, the reason why life is good in any culture you ever go is when there's a lot of food. If they're really fighting for food, then it gets to be more difficult. Which the only place I really know where they're really kind of fighting for food is, or really difficult to have food, is like Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, Africa. But most places where people live, they got water, so they have food. But America is just rich in natural resources, so we have a lot of food. I do think that the virtuous people, you know, the greatest generation from after World War II was the greatest generation. And I think this generation X and generations after this are not as virtuous. So I do think that the United States is becoming a less virtuous country. It's kind of like they're doing things on the internet, and they got their brain focused on this, and they're so self-centered that they can't think of other people. But it's about virtuous people think of other people and they have empathy for other people. In a way, they always complain about the United States having our fingers in everybody's way all around the planet. But we also have our fingers in everybody's business everywhere on the planet for the good. It's not just as simple as say we're going there to get their resources or something like that. We also do a lot, we donate a lot of money, and we do a lot of good things on the planet. And technically, when any country has problems, the first country they call is America. We're like the police. But like the police, they don't like us. You know, they don't like the police if they, you know. So, but generally overall, everybody's happy with the United States. Virtues like honesty and, you know, loyalty and stuff, it's disappearing because everybody's told they got to succeed and everybody's in a very strict competition. I wish the idea that you had to get the really good job and you would disappear, and the people in schools would teach you you have to try to have a good life. The quality of life is what we should be working for, not and being a good and honest person that you're proud to be. You want to have, I always look at it as, I want to be the man that my mother and father should be proud of, and I think I am. I think they're very proud of me, and I appreciate it. But I don't, you know, I just basically get up every day and be a good boy. So I really hope, you know, I'm from the Midland, I mean Midwestern part of the United States, right? And it's a much softer, more kind and gentle place than a lot of the big cities. If you want to be have a virtuous life, though, move away from the big cities, okay? Because the big cities just they do something to your brain. They make you soft, okay? They make you hard and soft at the same time. But compared to the rest of the planet, I would say yes, we're pretty virtuous. I would say that the Netherlands and Belgium are pretty virtuous, and the Brits can be real virtuous inside the countries. I don't know what happens when the Brits go abroad, though. They just get in all sorts of trouble. But and I'm not going to say that the expats abroad, the Americans abroad, are virtuous either, because they're kind of like they're the wanted, the unwanted, and the hermits, right? But life is good, and I'm not worried about Americans' virtues, and I'm not worried about getting robbed inside the United States. I know that you could probably test, another test you might be is walk up to the police in other countries and see what happens. In the United States, we can walk up to the police and ask them questions. In the rest of the planet, don't do it. It's dangerous. And that's like the, you know, they're working for the people in the United States, and most just go up and talk to some police and don't act like they're the enemy. Thank you. Andy Graham, Hobo Traveler.